So today's interview is pretty special. I know you always say this, but every single one kind of is because the stories that we hear on these interviews are very relatable to everybody. But this one, amazing. We have somebody that served in the Navy and is now helping all of the community out with arbitrage betting, and he is arbing himself. He has now been doing this for 90 days and is gonna have a 12 13k month this month in December, hopefully 15 by the end. Here's his story.
And I didn't even really know what it was. I could read the data and make sense of it. So I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like I'm going to look into this some more. So that's what cued me. It's just this random website sent by a buddy of mine. And, I made like $30 in like 2 minutes. And I was like, well, that was, that's awesome.
That's a different world.
Let me see how this works. Yeah. So I'm just cresting like 13,000,
Yeah.
I hit 12 on Christmas Day. So
Shane, what's up, Shane? How are you, man?
Juan, right? Yeah. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Is that a Barstool hat or am I tripping?
This is the Honor Foundation. It is a military transition program that I went through recently.
I got that completely wrong then. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, sorry about that. So it looks like you said you were. It looks like on your Twitter you said you're from ex-Navy. Can you tell us a little bit about? I think that's super interesting how you came from the Navy and now you're doing this. Well, retired, right?
Yeah, recently. Yep, that's right. I joined the Navy in 2002, post 9/11. It was kind of like just a patriotic thing to do. I didn't see it becoming a career at all. Ended up loving what I was doing. I was actually joined as a journalist and ended up getting into combat photography. So I did combat camera. I did some underwater diving documentation and stuff like that, and ended up working with special operations for about 15 years, documenting that stuff. So it was an incredible career.
Wow. That sounds so exhilarating, actually. Like combat photography. That's pretty insane. Like right on, like in the middle of, like, I don't want to sound like really, what's the word here? Unknowledged about it, but actually like shooting people, like shooting the war, like photography of the war.
I did 2 deployments in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. So let's say I was around it, but that doesn't mean I was directly involved in too much crazy stuff. But I saw my share while I was over there.
Okay, so how in the world how did you get into sports betting now? Because that's a completely different world.
Yeah, I've always been a sports nut, right? Like, so I've loved sports since I grew up in Florida. Big Florida State fan.
Okay.
But when it was legalized in Virginia, just like anybody else, I was just kind of tasting it a little bit, having fun, putting a little bit of money here and there on games just to spice it up a little bit. Yeah. I got into it and I did well and bet on a lot of different sports. When I say I did well, it was nothing like I'm doing now. It was kind of up and down, just like a typical bettor, hitting parlays and teasers and just having fun with it. And
the usual.
Yeah. And then I found arbitrage betting and OddsJam.
Nice, man. And when did you find profitable betting strategies like arbitrage betting? How'd you find OddsJam?
It's crazy. It's crazy how I came across it. A buddy of mine, a Navy buddy of mine, sent me, an off-brand site because we weren't familiar with any of this. And I'm not going to dime out any other sites here, but they had some like free arbitrage plays, small percentages, and I didn't even really know what it was. I could read the data and make sense of it. So I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like I'm going to look into this some more. So that's what cued me. It's just this random website sent by a buddy of mine. And, I made like $30 in like, 2 minutes. And I was like, well, that was, that's awesome.
That's a different world.
Let me see how this works. And so I did some market research and tried some free trials on other systems. And then, finally, obviously it was led to OddsJam because of the marketing and, industry standards that they set. And then post a free trial with them. I was already, I was making $60, $70, $100 a day by the end of the free trial and said, yeah, there's something here. Yeah. And I'm going to give it a shot. And I dove in deep I did the same thing that a lot of guys are doing now, which is calling me for advice. And I called Arb Father. I talked to Arb Thief. I talked to a bunch of guys who had already been making some names for themselves in the space,
Nice.
and applied some of their tips and tricks to the way that I was running my own game,
Okay.
and saw significant profit turns in the next, about 45 to 60 days. It went nuclear, if you want, so to speak.
Yeah, I saw that you had you were having a couple like $100, $200 days last month, and now this month you're kind of insane. It's like what, 15K this month, something like that.
Yeah, so I'm just cresting like 13,000.
Yeah,
I hit 12 on Christmas Day, so that was cool. But yeah, I mean, it has to do with the time. It has to do with the time I'm putting in. It has to do with the capital that I have available now to push in to the market.
Yeah.
And only dealing with a few limited books and not like an insane amount of limited books helps out.
Yeah.
And then strategies that I've employed over the month of December, specifically cycling your bankroll, like paying attention to large slate games on Saturdays and Sundays where you have a very diverse start times of all these different sports.
Yeah.
And then taking advantage of pushing your money in early, get a good percentage, even if it's a less profitable ROI. Not putting it in there early and getting it back to reinsert into the market at a later time that same day. It's kind of just dead capital. So I really started seeing 2 and 3x profit days. That's where, if you look at my picking calendar, if you look at Saturdays and Sundays, you can really see the difference. $900, $1,000 compared to what I can do on a typical day. It's like 3 to 4 to 500, something like that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, now I'm really curious. So what were those tips and tricks that you learned by talking with Arb Father and Arb Thief that helped you level up? What can you share with the mortals?
Yeah, of course. I mean, none of it's secret. So it's and a lot of it was just basics for them. So I would talk about ways to bet sizes for my bankroll. I already had a big enough bankroll to utilize pretty much every book at my disposal. But I was just clarifying a lot of my initial thoughts with someone who was already in the space. They didn't tell them anything groundbreaking, but it was the fundamentals that sort of drove me in the right direction to know I was doing the right thing. And that's exactly what I'm offering to people now, is that same advice. Okay.
But what is that like? Just like hitting the plus side first, hitting the minus side first, or what does that kind of look like?
Yeah. I mean,
if somebody were to DM you
to not go too deep. Them? Yeah. I mean,
we could get a little deep.
That's cool. Yeah. So for specific, I wish, get a little more specific with the question. It can help a little bit, but, so, something I would tell somebody is, let me think here. So
main markets, player props. What do you?
Well, I pretty much will play anything in the beginning, right? Until I started catching limits, I was pretty free willy, and I still am with playing whatever market is available. Obviously, a big side to play in this game is going to be eventual limits, to which I've felt a few. But I think one thing about limits that people don't realize is that they are typically market specific. Some of these smaller market books will limit you a little harder across the board, but limits on some of these larger market books like DK and FanDuel and some of these other things, you can still place legit profitable bet sizes on main markets. So your money lines, your spreads, even quarter points and things like that can be very profitable. And I think people see something, they see that these usual bets they're making, a lot of prop plays in the arbitrage community, and they try to put one in, and now it's at $10, and they're like, well, that's it for me, and they really haven't looked at what the bet offers in other markets.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely, the main markets will always have volume available, even on limited accounts. I face that every day, and I'm not even arbing really.
Yeah.
Just doing plus EV, live EV, live betting generally. Just basically 90% is live betting now. So are you doing pregame stuff, or are you doing live arbing?
So I do both, and that's again with that I do both pre-match and live arbing, and that is to cycle the bankroll. whatever capital I have available when live starts. Usually I start living in the evening just because of personal matters and family and stuff like that.
Of course.
But once that starts, it's you can be betting like first quarter markets and half props and spreads, and that money comes back real quick to reinsert. So not only are the profit margins larger, like the arb opportunities are larger ROIs, but you're getting quick turn on your cash.
That's amazing. So I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody, because this is probably the most relatable question with the new sharps, I would say, is so what do your friends and family think that you're doing sports betting now?
Yeah, I've talked to my dad about it, and he gets the market for what I'm using it for, right? It's when you can explain arbitrage, and he knew the term. It was a little bit more. He was a little bit more willing to listen. Once I explained the math and the data to him, he was an easy sell. My wife still doesn't really try to understand. She just knows that I'm busy and it's making money. It's still dodging time with her, because it does. If you're getting into the market, it can take a lot of time. Pushing as hard as I have, it can be 4 to 6 days. Trying to place arbitrage opportunities, and I think that over time that will even itself out and probably die down as I'm just pushing really hard right now, and I'm loving it. So
nice. Well, how was the Thanksgiving talk or the Christmas talk with family and friends that were just randomly like, wait, you're gambling now, Sean?
Yeah. So I have some friends or family in Richmond, Virginia, to which we're going to see tomorrow. So I plan on having that discussion with them. My father-in-law is a real cool guy, and I'm sure he'll want to listen, and I think he'll understand, because they're pretty open people. It's my family and friends have been really easy to sell it to, because they kind of know me and know what I get into, and that I'm not too reckless. But coming across new customers or trying to explain it to friends who have no idea, or acquaintances that have no idea, there's this snake oil taste about sports gambling, and you're trying to explain, like, I have a risk-free way of making money in sports betting. And they're like, okay, buddy, like, what pyramid scheme is this?
It's so hard.
It's their willingness to really listen to you and look at the software and look at the data. And I've turned a few, definitely a few guys at first were like, no chance I'm going to touch this, and then seeing the profits that I'm putting across, and then actually letting me, spend 20 or 30 minutes with them to demo the software, you can really change people's minds.
Yeah, it's definitely, if some people think that you're selling them onto something because it's definitely working for you, and there's this goodness that you're just trying to help somebody out, or at least just say, hey, this actually exists, which is the whole point and the whole mission of these calls. Actually, it's to find people, keep interviewing random users of OddsJam, for all the people in the fence, saying, hey, there's more humans on the other side, come join.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's legit, and relate to the same story that everybody relates to.
Yeah, it sure does. And since I've sort of gained a little popularity on the X platform, and started to get a lot of people inquiring about how I'm doing it, and my methods, and
the name is cool. Herbologist. That's a cool name. You. It's like, it's good. It's fun. That's why I messaged you. I was like, this is a cool name.
There's a lot of cool names taken too. So it took a minute to, I came across a few. And I was like, this sounds cool. And lo and behold, someone already had it.
There's one that I don't know if it has been taken, but if I were to start like an arbing username, it will be the Arb Kingdom.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, Arb Genie was in the mix for me. I thought about that.
Yeah. So you're getting a lot of people messaging you now, asking you about.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the questions you'd think you would get. So they're talking about if it's a lot of existing users who are just looking for ways to increase profit, people who have maybe not gotten the full experience, or are trying to understand how I'm earning so much money. a lot of questions about limits and how to manage them. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of questions about which books to use, and a lot of potential customers in limited states and limited markets: Texas, California, Florida, Wisconsin.
Massive. Yep.
A lot of guys reaching out and saying like, "Hey, man, what are my options for doing this in a low market state?" Um, and uh, and so I'll work with them too, because obviously the sweepstakes books have changed the game.
Yep.
Some states like Florida have like Hard Rock and these other, legit books that can operate there. But yeah, working with them is crazy because I think there's a lot of data to still come on how folks in those limited states can profit and like to what extent.
Yeah. They can kind of use the offshore books and the social books and the exchanges now, like Profit,
Yeah,
Novig, Flip.
Profit X is amazing, man. Totally amazing.
Yeah. Sport Trade. I don't know if you've
Sports
used
trades in
them.
Virginia, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Have you used Bovada, Bet Online, MyBookie, XBet? Have you used
No,
those, the offshores?
no, not yet. Right.
Good.
I still have enough active accounts to where, so when I'm explaining it to a potential customer or someone coming in for OddsJam, your profits are made from how much money you can push to the market, right? It's all about what is your bankroll and how much of that bankroll can I get into the market today.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and uh, and so if you can do it with less books, I say great. If you're making a legit, 3% plus is what I tell people is like a really good number to shoot for on average. If you're getting that, you don't need 9 books. You know what I mean? Expand the books when your bankroll gets big enough to spread across these things so you're not thinned out.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're also not, if something goes down, if something happens to one of your main books you've been using and you get limited, you can open up one of the ones you haven't touched yet. And then, like I said, you're really going to want to increase your options when you have a lot more money to put in.
Hmm. That's it. Great advice, man. It sounds like you've been doing this for a long time, but you're month number 2, right? But
Yeah, I mean the first month was feeling it out. Yeah, I'm about 90 days in almost. I started in early October. But the
okay.
first month was like to be expected. There's definitely some feeling it out. Like I started to have some like few $100 days and stuff by the end of that month. I had earned probably my 1,000 was probably almost 4,000 by the end of the first month, and that was kind of those are the numbers I got from me just experimenting and figuring stuff out. And then month 2, a lot more capital to insert, and the compounding effect of daily uh,
That's
ROI coming
insane.
back is crazy in arbitrage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So starting with 1 and having close to 5 by the end of the first month, and then pushing those numbers, it just increases exponentially.
That's it. That's it, man. Well, I think we covered a lot. Is there anything you want to say to the people listening right now that are anything to
Yeah, it's the
finalize it?
same. Absolutely, Juan. Thank you. It's a lot. It's the same message that I push out on X, and it's like helping people in this community is super fulfilling. I think for a lot of us like who are doing this, love to see new guys come into the community when that light bulb goes off for them, and they see the data and how it works, and they go from being skeptical about the subscription cost to, oh my god, I can't believe this is only a few $100s a month. Like it's crazy. So uh, really seeing their reaction and seeing their happiness at the end of, let's say, month 1 or 2, when they're, man, it really I don't think it's just me. It really does something. It motivates me to where when this art thing is run is done for me, I fully expect and have this dream of being someone who can stay in the community, who's purely just putting guys to market, laying game plans for success, and then getting that next big guy in there doing it.
That is absolutely amazing. And I love to hear that because that's just what it's all about, man. Serving. And this is a small way or even a big way because this can impact many people, and it has. And I've seen some messages come back now in my DMs from just like thanking and just
Yeah,
just seeing how like actually some people's lives turned around. I'm just like,
absolutely.
wow, that's insane. That is beautiful.
Yeah, well, and you're right, man. Like some of the stories that I've come across that are, people aren't too shy to share some personal aspects of looking to get disposable income and what it could mean to them. And so for them to trust, me to try to assist them in the matter, like it's important that I'm giving out good information and that I'm pointing them in the right direction. So, when they do that and it comes from me, it feels good because, my motives are in the right place and I know they're getting good info. So, man, it is awesome. And I look to stay in touch with these individuals too, to see how it turns out. I always end the call by saying, let me know how it goes tomorrow, next week, whatever it is. Like, I want to know how you're doing.
Incredible, man. Well, I have nothing else to say. And thank you for that. Thank you for serving the people. I try to do my share as well because this thing helped saved me about 2 years ago. That I was in a bad spot, and sports betting just opened up a new world. Just changed me. It helped me a lot. So I hope it can help a lot of people too. Um, and yeah, I guess we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out. Let's end this
Cheers, Juan. Bye,
right
guys.
here.